Todd Young Online presents Young Tales. Tales for the young and the young at heart. Today's story, Bulfinch's mythology, King Arthur and his knights. The story of the death of Sir Tristram. When Sir Tristram came once more to Brittany, the land lay in turmoil. King Howell, his wife's father, was at war. His vassals rebelled, his knights were slain, and his banners fell one by one. Then Tristram, ever the champion of the fallen, rose and offered his sword. The king placed his hope in him, and Tristram led forth the armies of Britain. His courage was fire, his skill a storm. He turned despair into triumph. In battle after battle, the rebel host was broken. At last, the enemy shut himself within his city walls, and Tristram led the assault. But as he mounted the ladder, a stone hurled from above struck his helm and felled him to the earth. He lay senseless, his blood staining the dust. When he awoke, they carried him to the chamber of Isolde of the White Hand, the princess who was now his wife. She was fair and kind, skilled in the healing arts, and loved him dearly. With her own hands, she bound his wounds. "Thy touch, my lady, brings comfort, even to death," Tristram said weakly. He kissed her hands with gratitude that deepened daily into affection, or what he hoped was love. For though he sought peace, the shadow of another Isolde, the Queen of Cornwall, haunted him still. At first, the healing seemed sure, but soon the wound blackened and burned. No balm would ease it. Tristram grew pale and weak. At last, his old squire, who had served him since youth, spoke gently. "My lord, do you remember how once, when all hope was lost, the Queen of Cornwall healed you with her own hands? Send for her now. She alone can save you." "Aye," said Tristram, "she who was both my joy and my ruin. Yet I would see her face again before I die." Tristram gave his ring to a trusted mariner, Gesnes, saying, "Take this to the Queen of Cornwall. Tell her that Tristram, near to death, calls for her healing. If she will come, raise white sails upon your return. But if she refuses, black sails, that I may know my fate." The ship departed, swift upon the wind. And while it crossed the sea, Tristram laid each day upon his bed beside the shore, staring toward the horizon. But as the days passed, his strength faded. He could no longer rise. He called a young maiden and said, "Watch for the ship and tell me the color of the sails when you first see them." Isolde of the White Hands had once consented to send for her rival. But as the days passed, her fear grew. She saw the love in her husband's eyes whenever the name Isolde was spoken. Not hers, but the queen. And when at last the ship appeared, its white sails gleaming in the sun, jealousy overcame her. "Tell my lord, the sails are black," he said coldly. The maiden bowed her head and obeyed. When Tristram heard the words, he turned his face to the wall. "Alas, my beloved," Tristram said softly, "we shall never see one again. Each other. We shall never see one another again." Then he commended his soul to God and was still. Meanwhile, the ship came swiftly to shore, for Queen Isolde had come, fearless, faithful, her heart burning with hope. But when she stepped upon the sands of Brittany, the first words she heard were those of grief. "Lady, he is gone." They bore her to his chamber. There lay Tristram, still and cold. She knelt beside him and took his hand. "My heart, my lord, why hast thou left me? Death is kinder than this life without thee." She kissed his lips, laid her head upon his breast, and died. Before his death, Tristram had written to his uncle, King Mark of Cornwall, begging pardon and explaining all. The love potion, the sorrow, the fate that had bound them. When Mark received the letter, he wept. He took their bodies home to Cornwall, placed them in his own chapel, and buried them side by side. And from the grave of Tristram sprang a green vine, which crept along the walls and twined itself into the tomb of Isolde. 3 times the king cut it down, and 3 times it grew again, stronger, fairer, and unbroken. So ended the tale of Tristram of Lyonesse, the bravest knight, the sweetest harper, and the most faithful lover that ever rode from Camelot's gates. His story, sung by bards for centuries, lives still in every heart that has known love stronger than death. And thus the age of passion drew to its close, giving way to its age of faith. For even as the vine grew green above Tristram's tomb, a greater sign was already stirring in Camelot, the coming of the Holy Grail. And here's where we end for today. Young Tales is produced and narrated by Todd Young from Todd Young Online. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe and join us next time for another story. Thank you for your support.